Welcome to the latest Watercolors Aquarium Gallery podcast, brought to you from the Aquarium Rush Studios in downtown Grand Rapids, Michigan. My name is Ben.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Charles.
Today, we are talking about the top 5 deadly beginner mistakes. Mistakes.
Talking about dead fish today.
Dead fish.
Eek.
You know,
Dead
one of my
fish.
favorite aquarium people, his name's Charlie Grimes. Shout out to Charlie. Does one of the only comedic aquarium talks I know, and it's Charlie Grimes' Dead Fish Talk. Yep. And regularly in his talk, he's talking about some of the fish he knows, some of the fish he has, and here's a dead fish, here's another dead fish, and here's some more dead fish, and then he goes on to his next one. It's really, it's quite humorous. And then
I don't know why, but I'm just picturing like, what is the deal with neon tetras? Like, you know, like the stereotypical like stand-up.
Very observational humor. You know what, though? It's so good, though. Like, I love when people do stuff like that, because dead fish are something that we should maybe talk about a little bit more, especially when we're talking about beginners and talking to beginners, because we've all started from somewhere.
Or even when you're not a beginner and you just do something stupid.
Yeah.
So a couple of disclaimers. I'm going to be using some examples in our top 5 mistakes beginner fish people make. And I may have done some of these when I was a beginner. So if you happen to be listening and you go, hey, is he talking about me? I might be if you know me, but I might also just be talking about me. So please don't take offense, and we all learn from it. So that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I kept mine a little more general than that, just because it's more of like an average of all of the people that I've dealt with, not necessarily an average of my experience.
Nice.
I do definitely have one specific example, and the rest is pretty general, but we'll get to that.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I like it. I just thought of one more. Charles, can I borrow your pen?
I have a feeling that most of these are either going to be the same or overlapping.
I think I just thought of one that's not going to be, because I just remembered a very specific story from when I was like 9 years old. I know, right? All right. Amy, it's tradition. We start with you.
Okay, well, we can start with me, but, I mean, do you think we should just start with the big one?
You know, I think what we should start with is the one you think is the big one and see if I think it's the same one.
Okay, because I was even expecting, like, we could do a 1, 2, 3 overfeeding.
I think that's on all of our lists.
It's not on mine.
Really?
Really. I had other things I'd rather talk about, and I figured one of you guys would.
I was gonna rank mine in the order in which the mistakes are made.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. And overfeeding, although every beginner makes that mistake.
There are several mistakes you can make before that.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is not the first mistake that you make, but it's the mistake that's the most common, I think.
I think that I would love to hear from someone who is an experienced or even moderate hobbyist who didn't start out doing that. Like, I think everyone starts
I think
out
it's
overfeeding.
more, if there's a moderate hobbyist that doesn't think they've started out doing that, they're still doing it.
Wow, Amy, that was pretty poignant and like really accurate.
Yeah, the overfeeding thing. You do start off overfeeding a lot, and then a lot of us do cut back. And then I find it becomes a common mistake again, like when people think that they're past it. Like people who are breeding for the first time and that kind of thing too. You start feeding more and not realizing, oh, more maintenance needs to come along with that.
Yeah, that's where we get a lot of forehead slaps.
Yeah, but for beginners, there's definitely plenty of people who come through here who feed a handful of flakes 3 times a day. And that's a good way to end up with a dead tank.
Right. The backs of a lot of food containers say, feed your fish as much as they can eat in 3 to 5 minutes, 3 to 5 times a day.
Yeah, which is just
holy crap, dead fish.
Completely insane.
Yeah,
if
dead fish.
anybody did that, you would kill off your tank. I don't even know how you would be able to.
Right. I don't think you could do that for 2 days in a row without having problems.
Mm-hmm. And the only time I have ever told anyone, yeesh, you probably should feed a little bit more, is somebody who has a betta tank that probably 5 times before they took it home, we said, don't overfeed it.
Right.
And then they really latched onto that, and they were feeding it like a pellet or 2 a day. And like, you could probably ramp that up a little bit.
Actually, I've had the conversation here with someone sitting at this table. Because we drill this into everyone. Don't overfeed, don't overfeed, don't overfeed, don't overfeed. What fish were those, Charles? Recently. Oh, the panda cories.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were being underfed. Because we have to have that conversation so often that here sometimes we're just like, don't overfeed, don't overfeed.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the things that can happen when you overfeed, obviously too many nutrients going into the tank. If your biological media can't keep up with that, if you don't have enough beneficial bacteria, you will get ammonia spikes, especially around the time of feeding. But over time, even if you have really mature media, you will still end up with nitrates that are way out of control.
Through the roof.
Yeah. If somebody comes in and says, hey, my tank looks fine, but the water's cloudy, you're overfeeding. My fish, they're just kind of laying on the bottom, not doing anything, probably overfeeding. My fish are gasping at the surface all the time, probably overfeeding. Pretty much any of those common failures that happen in an aquarium, those symptoms can be tracked back to that problem.
It's one of our running jokes around here.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not polite to try it. But even with a number of people that have said at the beginning, I'm not overfeeding, we came to the conclusion they were indeed overfeeding, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's legit to say that 999 times out of 1,000, when somebody comes in and says, I'm having a problem with my fish tank, the answer is you're overfeeding.
I do like to joke behind the scenes that if someone comes in and says, I have a problem, you should just stop them right there and tell them you're overfeeding.
Right. Yeah. We can't do that because it would be rude, but we would be right almost every time.
Yeah. So the rule of thumb that we teach is it's really easy for people to have a reference point to go with. So we say the eyeball of a fish and its stomach are generally roughly the same size. That gives you a physical amount that you can give once a day, sometimes every other day.
Even twice a day is okay.
Yeah, it's less the frequency and more of the amount. If anything's hitting the bottom, that becomes snail food, algae food, and ammonia.
Oh, that's another one, another sign of overfeeding.
Yeah.
I have too many snails. You overfeed.
Yes.
Yep.
Where did all this algae come from? What can I do get to kill it?
Feed less.
Yes.
I have a ton of Asterina stars for you saltwater people. What's wrong?
Feed less.
Let's face it. I mean, this is the Midwest. If there's a problem, you throw food at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do here.
Yep. I don't feel so good. Oh, have you tried eating any ice cream?
Yeah. Here, have a sandwich. I'm really upset right now. Have a sandwich.
Yep.
I have never done that to someone in my life, I say with a smirk on my face.
Oh, do you need some brownies?
Says the guy that literally came in today and said, oh, guys, I brought some cream cups. Do you need comfort food?
Yep. We've harped on it a million times. This will not be the last.
No.
Don't overfeed your tanks.
Right. I think we should harp on it more.
Yeah. Every episode's about that now.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
From now on, all of our episodes will just be called Don't Overfeed Your Fish.
What are some of the other cheesy sayings that we have? Oh, like splash is a perfect example.
Oh, yeah. That's
right?
another good one that we pull out.
Begging fish are healthy fish, not hungry fish. If your fish are splashing at the surface begging for food, it's not because they're hungry. They're training you.
Just like the dog at the dinner table while you're eating your dinner.
Right. Splash is the resident dog. She begs for a cheeseburger. She begs for French fries, even when she's not hungry. Why? Because she's training you.
Yes. And fish don't know when they're full.
Right.
One of mine is every piece of food that hits the bottom becomes a snail.
I like that. That's good.
So true, though.
Yep.
I haven't heard that one from you. That's good.
What else can we say about overfeeding?
Don't do it.
So this is one of the ways that I finally convince people to stop overfeeding, right? Because if you're overfeeding and you get an ammonia spike, you've got to not feed your fish for 3 or 4 days, and they'll be okay.
Yeah.
Right? The reasoning behind that, one of the first byproducts of decomposing excess food is ammonia. You get that ammonia spike, and ammonia burns fish gills. it inhibits their ability to breathe. If you are suffocating, the last thing you want is a cheeseburger. Right?
Yeah.
Get the water quality right, and the only way to do that is to feed the fish less or stop feeding for 3 or 4 days. Get the water quality right, and the fish can go, okay, now I need a cheeseburger.
Yeah. And even if the fish are eating it all, you can still overfeed. It still comes out one way or the other.
It's true. It's true.
It's still going to decompose in there.
Yep.
I will often like frame it to customers as, so I have cats at home. When I go on vacation, if I'm gone for less than a week, whoever's taking care of the cats, I tell them, if you touch my tanks, you're not allowed back in my home again. Because the risk of them overfeeding and destroying my tanks is way greater.
So do any of your friends ever like look at you and like poke your tank while you're watching? Poke,
No.
poke.
They don't.
You might take that as a hint.
You know what, though? That's a great thing to bring up in this conversation because we don't think about it a lot here because we do not carry this trash.
Mm-hmm.
But vacation feeders, what a stupid invention.
They're terrible.
Why would you just put a whole hunk of food that's going to rot in your tank over a week?
Food and something that's going to mess up the pH of your aquarium.
Ridiculous.
Right.
And for people who are just trying to do what they can, who are feeling bad about leaving their fish. Oh, you're feeling bad about leaving your fish. You want them to eat? Just kill them instead.
I consider vacation feeders as a sign of how can you tell if a fish store is a good fish store? If they carry vacation feeders, ask them about them.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter. Walk out. If they carry vacation feeders, walk out.
Yeah.
No, I would still want to have that conversation because maybe they don't know.
Maybe they carry the vacation feeders to have that conversation. Maybe they don't. Maybe if the vacation feeders are very, very dusty,
Yeah.
it might be an okay store.
Like I totally get that some places, if somebody's going to buy it, if somebody's going to ask them for it, they're going to sell it. But
Yeah.
they should at least be doing what they can to talk you out of it.
I don't care how many times somebody asks me for a vacation feeder. I'm not selling them one.
Yeah.
Well, we won't have one, but I'm not
No.
ordering them. No. Nope.
Ticking
An
time
auto
bombs.
feeder, an electronic auto feeder that feeds a specific amount of food, you bet.
Yeah. Definitely a little more expensive, but those vacation feeders aren't that cheap either. Like 3 or 4 trips and you'd pay off your...
Yeah, I have no idea. I've never looked, but
Well,
yeah.
I mean, not even that. So, like, let's just assume that a vacation feeder is going to cause that ammonia spike and kill off your fish. Are you really saving money by not buying the vacation
Yeah.
feeder?
No.
if it's only about the money and you have a tank full of 10-cent goldfish,
There you go.
the vacation feeder's cheaper than the fish, but you will probably kill the fish. So what do? So quick, vacation. Uh-oh, I'm about to go on vacation. I was going to buy a vacation feeder. I guess I can have Cousin Mary come over and feed my fish for me. Well, here's what I do. Here's my solution, right? You know the little deli cups that like ketchup comes in with the lid? Mm-hmm. You get one of those for every day Cousin Mary is going to come over. You put in 1 day of fish food into each one of those cups and you label them. Then you tell Cousin Mary, only feed that amount on those days. If you skip a day, don't make up for it.
Yes.
That might work.
And you grab her by the shoulders and you look her straight in the eye and you shake her a little bit.
And you even use a mean voice. Don't overfeed my
Seriously,
fish.
so many bad stories. Actually, sometimes even if somebody comes in and says, man, I just had this crazy algae bloom. It came out of nowhere and my tank's been fine forever. And be like, did you go on any trips recently? You'd be surprised how often I'm right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just last week.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a few customers that have told me that when they're on vacation, they use those 7-day like pill organizers.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm
smart.
like, that's like
Yeah.
a level of extra. Like, I don't know. It's like $3, but it's still
Yeah.
insane, and I
Yeah.
love it.
The hard part, the hard story you got to convince whoever's feeding your fish is if they miss a day, they're going to feel bad. But don't feed 2 days worth of fish food in 1 day. It's much, much worse.
Yeah.
So if I don't eat lunch, by the time I get to dinner time, I could probably fit in a few extra French fries, but I'm not fitting in a second cheeseburger.
Right. That's a good one. I like that.
All right. I think it's been sufficiently harped on.
I like it.
This horse has been dead for a while.
Scratching it. I'm scratching it off my list.
Cool.
Okay.
Charles.
All right. So for context on my list, I tried to approach it from the perspective of not what are most common mistakes that people make, but if you do this, it's most likely to kill something.
The most deadly. Yeah.
And so on my list, I didn't put overfeeding. I put feeding the wrong food.
Oh, yeah.
So
like feeding feeder fish, for example.
Or like I've had several conversations in the last week where bettas had bloat because they were feeding an improper diet.
Right.
And so that's just one of those things where I'm like, just a little bit of research goes a long way on that one.
Yeah, African cichlids are like the famous example for this to me.
Yeah.
Because people are like, oh, I want my mean fish and I want to feed them meat and whatever. And like mbuna are pretty much all herbivores.
Right.
So like you want to feed them the most badass food that you can find, but they want algae.
They want spinach.
Yeah. They're territorial. They're not predators.
Right.
So you can kill an mbuna just by feeding it too much protein.
Yes. The science behind that, right? They eat stuff that's really hard to digest. It takes a very long time for alfolk. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
All right. Which is the fancy name of the schmutz that African cichlids scrape off of rocks and eat. Well, most of them scrape off rocks and eat. Mbuna. That's algae and cyanobacteria and spirulina. That's where spirulina comes from, right? That's what they eat, and it takes a very long time to digest all of that stuff. Meat does not take a long time to digest. So if you eat things that take a long time to digest, you have a very long digestive tract, right? The whole thing about cows having 7 stomachs or whatever, super long digestive system, it's because they're digesting grass, which takes a really long time.
It's basically composting.
Yes. With meat, it doesn't take as long to digest, so it actually starts to rot inside that digestive system. So what you're seeing with Malawi bloat or beta bloat is that wrong food in that digestive system actually starting to rot and decompose instead of being digested.
Gross.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. And then the flip side on that is with a lot of predatory fish, if they're getting a little bit too... a lot of the prepared foods that exist on the market aren't great because they have a little bit too much wheat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when you're dealing with dry foods, you're going to need a little bit of that just because that's the only way you're going to get it crisp.
Right.
But it shouldn't be the primary ingredient.
Right.
And the problem there is it's basically just compacts in the digestive tract because the fish's digestion doesn't know what to do with that.
Right. It needs the easily digested materials that are in proteins.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, in what situation does any fish in the world find wheat in its habitat?
Processed wheat.
Like, come on.
There's got to be some.
It's gotta, but I can't think of it.
But no. No.
Meanwhile, I really hope that someone listens to this podcast, and then sends a photo of like some sort of weird like crappie just chewing on heads of wheat.
Somebody get us that, and you get a gold star.
Oh, I love it.
Yes, I like it.
So good.
Anyways, that's my perspective on feeding.
That was a good one. I didn't even think of that angle.
No, I didn't. Wait, did I? Nope. Didn't think of that one. Which one should I start with? I'm going with what I think is an obvious one in that we get this all the time, and we have to actually talk people out of this regularly. You're all excited about getting into this hobby, and you walk into the store, and you pick out your tank, and you pick out your fish, and you want to go home with your tank and your fish on the same day.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Those fish are dead.
Yeah.
Aww.
So hard to, like, pop that bubble too. Because so often too, it's like, all right, little Johnny, he's 6 years old. He's here to get his fish tank today. And then you get to be the bad guy of like, no, sorry, little Johnny, you don't get your fish today. Oh, that's rough.
Can I tell a funny story?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I use a funny accent?
Is it?
I'm gonna say.
Is it offensive?
No, it shouldn't be. Well, maybe if you're from New Jersey, it's offensive.
Okay.
Oh, well, then go for it.
Fine.
Okay, good. I had these 3 guys come into the store, right? And it was clearly grandpa, dad, and son. And they all had on matching Adidas black and red striped sweatpants.
Cute.
Right? Hey, we're looking for some fish for my kid. Yeah, we've got some great options. We got a 3-gallon tank. We're going to put some water in and we're going to bring some fish home today. Well, and I went into my whole spiel, right, of why you shouldn't do that and the fish is going to die. And the guy looks at me and says, come on, I'm just trying to make my kid happy here. I want to get him some fish today. How do we do that? And it did not matter what I said to this guy, right? You know, when the tank is not established, fish are going to make it 2 or 3 days. Your kid is not going to be very happy if your fish are dead in 2 or 3 days. The guy's reaction? What? You're not going to sell me a fish today? I said, if I sell you a fish today, it's going to die. He said, what? You want me to take my money elsewhere? I said, yes. Yes, actually, I do. Yep. Go ahead.
It's just not worth it if you know it's not going to work.
No, it's going to die.
And it's the situation where, like, okay, anybody who's listening to this episode today, they probably have a pretty good idea of cycling, even if they are a beginner.
Right.
Like, they've done, people doing their research. If you found your way here, you've probably, you know what the cycle is, you know why it's important. It's so easy to cycle a tank.
Right.
Like, a week is really all you need. If you're loading it up with plants, if you're loading it up with driftwood from an existing tank, if you get any media from an existing tank, a week. Just wait that long.
And with many fish tanks, start with a fish.
Yeah. And you probably won't even have any issues getting off the ground. I don't get it.
Right. But I want it now. Yeah, and, you know, it was not that he was mad about the science not working.
Right.
Clearly, he was completely incapable of understanding the science. I mean, that was obvious from the get-go.
He thought
right?
that he could mold that to his will.
Yeah, well, he thought that I was being mean by telling him I was being mean to his kid.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, and the look on the kid's face. No, the kid was too ugly. It didn't matter.
No.
Ben just found my comedic Achilles heel. Ugly kid jokes destroy me.
I don't know if we can leave that part in or not.
I
But
think the statute of limitations has passed.
yeah, it was like 5
You
years
might get
ago.
a visit from the mob, though.
The kid's grown up and is going to come beat us up.
Apparently, I should have changed the color of the Adidas sweatpants so that, you know.
No, these guys were in blue Adidas.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, do your stuff.
Wait, what were we talking about again?
Cycling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Adding fish
Oh,
to
yeah.
a brand new tank.
Adding fish to a brand new tank.
Don't do it.
Don't do
It's
it.
so easy not to.
Okay.
You want to have this fish tank for years.
Yeah.
And so this is one of my big frustrations with the ways that some big box stores do it. If you set people up for failure from the get-go, they're not going to stay in the hobby. They're going to get out of the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
If you set yourself up for failure by taking the fish and the fish tank home in the same day, you are going to fail and you're not going to like this. You're not going to want to keep doing it. You're going to waste your money.
Yeah, it's why we're willing to hold fish for people.
Yeah.
Because, if you fell in love with this fish, like, you deserve to have it. And you deserve to get it to live.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that to me.
Get your tank up and running, get it up and running healthy and right, then slowly build your population of fish.
Unless you're an ugly child, apparently. Ugh. That cracks me up.
Next.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
can I do a quick? I'm
Yeah.
going to interrupt. Can
Go
I do
ahead.
a quick peripheral to this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Too many fish in the same tank. Like, are we gonna like? This wasn't
Overloading a tank.
Like
overloading.
too many fish at once, or just overstocking?
And this is me genuinely asking you guys because it's not on my list, but
I didn't do overstocking
Did I do overstocking?
because
I did not do overstocking.
I think overstocking is a manageable problem. You just do more water changes.
Yeah.
Move
Too
on.
many fish at once. That's an ammonia spike waiting to happen.
Right.
okay.
Too much.
If your tank has
Build
been set
it
up,
slowly.
yeah,
Build it slowly.
that's all.
Yeah. I like it. Good interjection. I appreciate it.
And mine may like a good continuation from that. So I've got a scenario for you that I think is inevitable to end in disaster. All right? Fine. I have a 40 breeder. It has one molly, one blue gourami, one shark, an electric macaw, and a juvenile angelfish. What one fish can I add to that tank?
Oh God.
Hang on. I have to go stab myself in the eye.
Yes. And I put this, I'm going to do air quotes now. I'm telling you verbally that I'm doing it. Community tanks.
Right.
That onesie twosie method of, well, you know, I really just want a whole variety of fish is just inevitable to end in disaster because the more types of fish that you add, the more likely you'll run into compatibility issues and the more likely something is going to kill anything. Tank I just mentioned, add a cichlid, add a live bearer, add any bottom dweller, it's probably going to get killed.
Probably true.
Add one neon tetra, add one barb, add one of anything like that, it's never going to come out and it's still probably going to get killed.
It's going to die of stress.
Yeah.
And loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a very controversial opinion at this table. Whenever I hear someone that's really committed to that mentality of like that first stand, I want different colors in my tank.
Yeah.
Internally, I really want to tell them to set up a glowfish tank. Because I'm like, that would actually work, you know?
You know what I think the actual practical answer to that is? Rainbow fish.
Oh.
True.
I think groups of mixed rainbows, I think actually don't look horrible together.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get turquoise rainbows and yellow rainbows and Bosemani rainbows and the red rainbows.
Oh, the Irian Reds.
Earring reds. You can get that group, pairs and trios, to coexist well.
If you're willing
In
to
a
spend
55.
$20 a piece on your fish.
Well, you know, are you going to, you
But
want your
it's
fish to
worth
live or
it.
you want them to die?
Yeah, it's worth it. Or like mixed platy breeds, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
then you end
better
up with
to,
lots of mutts, though.
you do end up with lots of mutts, but you'll have some fun doing it.
I mean, people maintain Skittles shrimp tanks, though. Just every few generations, they influx some new blood to make sure that the mutts get weeded.
Shrimp people aren't afraid to be ruthless, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's back this off a little bit, right? Let's track this and say, okay, what if I want to have a bunch of different colors? What are some ways to do it right? Or to do I don't think you can do that right. My sense of aesthetic won't let me. But to do it where it will work. I have an idea.
All right, let's hear your idea.
A group of mixed medium build tetras. Like if you do a couple lemon tetras, a couple serpe tetras, a couple emperor tetras, a couple of the blue carry tetras. What else can we mix into that?
I agree with you, but you're hurting my soul.
I'm trying to come up with a
Yeah.
solution, like for somebody,
Yeah,
If
like
they-
robust,
yeah.
outgoing tetras of different colors.
but of same shape.
Yeah.
Or similar shape.
Like diamond tetras, those like the round ones.
Yeah.
The round one.
Yeah. Or you do a 55-gallon tank with 2 yellow labs, 2 Sokolofis, 2 cherry red zebras, right? You want the cichlid tank?
Yeah.
There's your cichlid tank, right? You want your mixed community tank? Do it with tetras. Don't put a cichlid in there.
Yeah. And match like temperaments.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the times people end up with these tanks because they want to be able to do everything, and
Right.
they're a little bit afraid of spending extra money on a school of fish.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth it to wait longer to build your budget to get the school, because it'll look better, it'll work better, you'll be happier with it.
Preaching to the choir, Amy. Oh wait, no, we're actually talking to other people too, aren't we? Sorry.
Yeah. Although we're still preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, that's probably true. It is definitely the case. So this is probably to this audience, right? Go through some of the aquascaping articles and those tanks that you drool over, and look at how many different kinds of fish are in those tanks. The answer is 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This cover of this particular issue of the Aquatic Gardener, this tank has nothing but lake inlay danios in it.
Oh, one of my all-time favorite fish.
I know. It's the first time I've seen it used in like a high-end aquascape, and they
They're
look
sweet.
Good.
Second time, because you saw my tank at home.
Oh, yeah.
But so
It's
my
not the first
favorite.
time I've seen it in a badass aquascape.
There we go. Nice.
Get roasted.
My favorite community tank. If we're gonna
Yeah.
use that word, and I grow weary of that word, right?
Hence the air quotes.
Yeah. If you want a mix of fish, get one group of big tetras. We're gonna go with Serpe tetras.
Your favorite color, whatever
Favorite
that
color.
is.
Yep. But get a dozen of them. Maybe even 20.
Mm-hmm.
Get a pair of dwarf cichlids, a pair of rams, or a pair of Palvicochromis, or a pair of Apistos. Get a group of 6 cory cats. Pick your flavor. Same flavor. And then if you really want to mix it up a little bit, put 6 marbled hatchets at the surface. Boom. That's a mixed community tank. You've got the variety.
Mm-hmm.
It's a combination that works.
And you can buy them 3 at a time.
Yeah, build it. The best way to do it, buy them 3 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Amy, that your point was that mix that you suggested, it was destined for failure. Even
Yeah.
in a 200-gallon aquarium with large groups of all of those fish, destined for failure.
Yeah. And even if what you have now is working, adding anything else is almost impossible,
Right.
because
Right.
something's going to hate it.
Yep. Yep.
Cool.
That's a good one. So far, I'm impressed that we're not having that much overlap.
Yeah.
Charles, let's have some overlap.
All right. So this is a topic I feel like I harp on a lot,
Mm-hmm.
particularly because I made a really big mistake about it once.
Hang on. I'm scratching this off my list, and I'm sure I know what it is. I do, right?
Do you want to guess? Because I think you know what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh. Does it have to do with a particular tang?
Yeah, it's improper acclimation.
Improper acclimation. Yeah. Oh, we had that recently. It's such a hard point because it feels like, it's almost like overfeeding.
Yeah.
Where you feel like you're just trying to do everything right. And, if a 20-minute acclimation is right, an hour of getting that fish used to the conditions must be better.
No.
No.
And this is particularly a big issue in saltwater, but it's not a small issue in freshwater.
No.
Right. The classic mistake in freshwater is, okay, so the way to acclimate fish in freshwater is you float your bag for a little while, right? It's not as big of a deal now that we have LEDs, but back when it was fluorescents, or even worse than that, halides or incandescents, but LEDs can still do it. But you float that bag and you take that insulated plastic bag full of air and water, and it goes right under your lights and cooks that fish inside that little bag.
Yay.
Yeah.
And even too, like, just not knowing the difference between where your fish is coming from and where it's going to. We're harping on a lot of other people here, but pretty recently here, we added CO2 to a series of our retail tanks and treated the fish that we are adding just like we would any other, get them used to the temperature, and then scoop them in. And we lost most of a batch of rummy nose tetras that way.
Yeah, that was a hard lesson learned.
There was at least 1 point between the pH of the tank they came to and the pH of the tank that they went into,
Right.
and we didn't take that into account.
A drip acclimation solves that.
Or even just bubbling out the CO2. We I actually
anything.
tested that.
Did
you?
Yeah, we did.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So
doing
turn the CO2 off.
anything.
Add an air stone for a little while.
Well, what we were doing was we were trying to solve the solution of how an aquarist that buys from that tank who doesn't have CO2, what can they do?
Right.
And so one of the ones that was presented to us was, could you bubble out the CO2? And we said, I don't know. So we caught some of the fish from that. We didn't catch, let me start over. So then we took some of the water from that tank, kept testing it every 5 minutes while we were bubbling air through it.
Yeah.
Takes about 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 to 25.
Interesting. Yeah.
At least with
That
the
pH
bubbler
adjustment.
Yeah, at
Right.
least with the bubbler we were using, with the air stone we were using, with the volume, yada, yada,
Yeah.
all those variables. But we were trying to use like about the volume of water you would use for like in a bag.
Right.
And so then the true test of that was some of those panda barbs in the display right now, those are the ones bred by us here
Yeah.
that were in one of those tanks. I bubbled them in for 20 minutes, put them in, and they were fine.
Perfect.
So it works.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Know what water your fish are in and what they're going to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
don't drip acclimate for more than 20 minutes.
Yeah. I don't want to harp too much on the details of why that, because we have an entire podcast on that. But I
Yeah.
do think this is appropriate too. I murdered a $500 Achilles tang because I acclimated for too long.
right. That was rough.
Yeah.
And we've had a number of customers recently that failure on our part, we did not explain that procedure properly, and they acclimated their beautiful little fish for an hour and a half thinking they were doing something right, and the fish died in 2 days. And like Charles said, there's a whole podcast on the science behind what happens. The short version is you messed up their ability to breathe.
Yeah.
But 20 minutes max, get them close, and that's part of it. We only have to get them close. It doesn't have to be exact.
Mm-hmm.
Our experience here is somewhere around 0.02
Yeah.
is not a stressor to them.
For 0.02 pH. Right?
No, for the salinity.
Oh, salinity. 0.002.
0.02. So like a jump from 1.021 to 1.023, they don't care.
Yeah, so 0.002.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just making sure we're on. That's why I gave the actual
I'm glad
numbers.
I'm not the only one that just uses the end of that number.
Yes,
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Great point.
That's it. I like it. That's a good one.
Cool.
Yeah, I also want to say to whenever I'm harassing a customer, being like, "Hey, make sure you acclimate properly." I'm not saying you're an idiot. I'm just in the back of my mind thinking of that Achilles tang I killed,
Yeah.
and don't want you guys to do that too.
Yeah.
Or the experienced reefer that had a fish die on him a week ago.
Yeah.
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 And that guy's been in the hobby for 10 years.
It's not someone I would have even thought to have told that to,
Right.
and his thought process wasn't necessarily wrong. He was just wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. That was sad.
That makes me really sad.
Yep. All right. Amy, you're going to be happy that I included this one,
Oh, yeah?
because the top 5 deadly mistakes that beginners make. What's the most common beginner fish?
Is it goldfish?
It is
Goldfish.
goldfish.
Yeah.
Starting with goldfish.
Yeah.
That is
Yep.
a bad
Considering
mistake.
goldfish a beginner fish is
Right.
a deadly mistake.
Yes.
It's definitely not a beginner fish.
Amy, goldfish stats. How big do they get?
I guess if you're choosing a fancy, it'll get about the size of a softball. If you're choosing a common or anything you got from a state fair, gonna get at least a foot long.
How long do they live?
30, 40 years is about, let's say max.
So if you had success with goldfish for 2 years, you killed a baby.
Yeah.
My
so many
kid
people.
lived to be 3.
Well, it's fine. I had my last goldfish in a bowl for 6 years. Oh, what a tragically cut short life.
Right. Yes. Goldfish are not beginner fish.
Just setting yourself up for failure right from the start.
Right.
Also, they're really specialized. I still think my favorite thing ever said at one of our like table conversations with the three of us was when Amy said that people need to start framing goldfish as cold water discus, because that's a specialized tank.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that is so true.
Right. Right.
Yeah, thinking that, well, first of all, goldfish should never be kept alone. So, like, minimum tank size for any goldfish for me is like 30 or 40 gallons.
Minimum.
So, starting from there, and then that's like 2 goldfish in a tank that size.
Right.
2 fancies, 2 of the round ones, not the straight ones.
Right.
And at that point, you're still doing probably like 50% water changes a week.
The goldfish I have 2 actual goldfish in my pond, Sanchez and D.
Cute.
And they're like pushing 10 inches.
That's awesome.
They're big.
They're like, are they just regular comets or are they cool
So
ones?
they are, here's some of the fun stories that happen with goldfish, right? This was a couple that bought, I think they grew them up in like a 30 gallon. Might have even been smaller than that. But they bought these fish and they thought they were doing everything right. And what they did pay attention to was water chemistry. And so they bought 10-cent Comet goldfish, and 4 or 5 years later, they were doing 50% water changes twice a week to try and they're like, okay, we have to keep the nitrates down and the ammonia down, right? 50% water changes twice a week in their 30-gallon tank with
'Cause you have to.
goldfish to try to keep them healthy.
That does not sound very fun.
No, and that's where they ended up. They're like, what do we do with these fish? They brought them into us. I put them in. Sanchez and D have reproduced. I now have a bunch of little Sanchez D's swimming around.
That's
Yes.
so sweet.
That's really where goldfish belong.
In a pond.
That's where koi belong. Koi do not belong in aquariums. Goldfish, yes, you can do goldfish aquariums. If you really want to think about doing a goldfish aquarium, think 75 gallons as a starting size for your gold. Could you do it smaller? There are ways to get away with it.
Like I was saying, a pair of double-tailed goldfish in a 30 or 40-gallon tank goes okay, but it's not really right.
Yeah, yeah. I
And-
would say the term goldfish bowl is as wrong as the term vacation feeder. Yeah.
I honestly thought you were going to say puppy mill. I don't know why I
Yeah.
thought you were going there.
I'm
But
okay with that.
For
But
comets 180 or plus, probably
yeah,
is
for
correct.
a 10-inch fish.
Yeah.
Yep.
'Cause that needs to be kept together.
Yep. Yeah.
Those are the people that I want to be able to say, it's supposed to be fun, and it can definitely be easier than this.
Right. And I think that these people got there, and I think these people now have an amazing fish tank.
Yeah.
But
I just think a lot of people don't get there, though, and they think this is the beginning. Like, this is the beginner fish.
yeah.
And they just
Yeah.
stop there because, yeah, you threw yourself into the deep end there,
Yeah.
buddy.
I couldn't keep goldfish alive. There's no way I could handle a neon tetra.
Yeah. Or I couldn't keep goldfish alive, and you want me to grow plants? That seems impossible.
Right.
You know, like, a planted tank's a million times easier than a goldfish tank.
Yeah.
Plants make it easy.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah. I thought that one needed to be, I know there are people out there
That's
right
a
now
great
that are
point.
going, but I've had my goldfish and I love them. I've had them for 2 years. Remember how long goldfish live.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, there are beginners that succeed. And it has definitely happened a number of times that people have come in here. My daughter won this at a fair 2 years ago, and now it's 6 inches long. I am proud of those people, right? They managed to get that goldfish to 6 inches, and then they're realizing that it's too big and finding another home. I don't think there's anything good about giving away goldfish at a fair. That's a horrible plan. But we definitely have it where people that are beginners pull it off. And that lends to the hardiness or how much torture a goldfish can handle for a while.
Yeah, their hardiness is their own downfall. They
Right.
get put in these terrible situations just because they can survive it.
Right. Right.
Well, my next one kind of goes a little along that it could be easier track.
Wait, wasn't that yours?
No,
That was
goldfish
his.
was mine.
Oh, that was yours.
That was
Sorry.
mine.
Yeah.
I completely lost track of where we were.
I
Good
know.
Lord.
You must need another beer.
Yeah.
I put down keeping a tank too clean. I put that in air quotes too.
Oh.
And to me, I see this in 2 different ways.
Yeah.
I see that in the people who do 100% water changes.
Right.
Oh, God.
And I see that in the people who change or scrub out their filter media.
Right.
Both
Yes.
of which are just destined for disaster.
Well, there's also those people that they move they pick up their 10-gallon aquarium, they bring it over to the kitchen counter, they scoop out their fish, they put them in a container, and then they clean everything. Not just 100-gallon water changes, but actually clean everything.
Yeah, bonus points with soap.
Right. Oh, wait, let me scratch that off too. Clean your
soap?
stuff with soap.
Yeah.
God, that's hurting me.
Yes.
It's like actually making me cringe.
And like, I admire these people because I am a very like backseat aquarist. Like, I'm doing water changes when I feel like it.
Right.
And these people every week are doing an hour's worth of work for a tank that looks bad all of the time.
All the time.
It's always cloudy.
And is deadly to their fish.
The fish are always sick. They're dying all the time. And these people are still putting all this work and all this love into it. I have so much admiration for that.
Yeah.
And
yeah. That's commitment.
I just want to tell them, but it can be fun. It can be easy.
Yeah.
Like, do 10% of that work and your tank will be 100% better.
Well said.
So, yeah, cartridge filters.
Don't like them.
They're great for people who sell cartridge filters, not so much for people who own cartridge filters.
Right.
Yeah. 100% water changes. Never do it.
Never.
And change out your filter media when it falls apart.
Yep.
I'm trying to think, is there any situation where I would do 100% water change? Maybe if like a kid dumped like a glass of milk into the tank. But even,
or a can of fish food.
or yeah.
Yeah.
Even in that case though, I would try to pull off keeping like 5 to 10% of the water.
Yeah.
But like it depends on how gross that water is at the bottom
Right.
there.
Yeah, and then physically removing those particles is really the important part.
Yeah.
If you can do that without doing 100%, way better.
That's why I said
Yeah.
the milk thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about it.
My mom had to do that once because I did that.
Because you did that.
You're such a bad kid,
Speaking of
Charles.
those beginner mistakes, right? Yeah.
Beginner mistakes. Leaving anything... You're leaving your kid access to your tank in any way.
Right. Yeah. I have a 3-year-old and I keep my fish food on the bottom shelf.
Yeah, that's a good way
Your
to end
fish
it.
gonna die.
Anytime anybody with a kid buys a tank, like, yes, keep it in a locked upper cabinet.
Yes. Hidden. Yes.
Where do you keep your liquor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can a teenager get into it? Because you're going to want to secure
Think
that.
of a 2-key opening system, and both a husband and wife have keys to it, and a combination.
In the vault.
Yeah, or wife and wife, or husband and husband.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the vault.
Anyone but the kid.
Anyone but the kid.
This is not podcast related at all, and this is me telling Nick, you're going to have to edit this out. But I had a conversation with Amy recently where I was like, why did we ever start calling it like housewife and house husband when house spouse rhymes?
Yeah, that does kind of make sense.
Like, come on.
Yeah,
like it
I
was
like it.
sitting there that whole
House
time,
spouse.
and we never did it.
Spouse.
Right.
Anyways, moving on.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else we can say about Too Clean? You're killing off your beneficial bacteria.
Right.
And so you're never getting to nitrite or nitrate. You're just getting ammonia, which is the worst part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Proper maintenance. Move some water. Put some stuff in it.
I'll even put plastic plants under this category too. You got to have something that has some funk to it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
want some bacteria. Some bacteria are good.
Lots of bacteria are even better. True story.
We
Charles.
say we're drinking beer.
I was drinking
Some of
beer,
the
but
best
mine's
bacteria.
gone.
Anyways, my turn.
Yep.
All right. This is actually on my list. I'm swinging hard in the other direction, not doing water changes.
I don't know. I haven't done water change in 5 years and my tank is going fine.
Yeah, your tank would look 10 times better if you were. Guarantee. I would put money on the table.
Absolutely, without question.
Any tank that you're not doing water changes in would look better with water changes.
Indubitably.
I can think of literally one exception, and this requires you to be sciencing the crap out of this tank.
Ooh.
If you're doing like a hardcore, full-on, dedicated Dutch synthetic reef method,
Still be better with water changes.
there's a certain size point where like it becomes more viable and it actually like it works really well, especially if you're doing a hardcore SPS
All right,
tank.
all right.
But
So you're
it can
starting with
be-
this now. Define the Dutch style.
So the Dutch style is basically what you're doing is you're doing a. Oh, man, this is a whole big thing.
Because
So-
I have my definition of Dutch style when
Yeah.
the Dutch style was invented in 1986.
Are you guys talking about planted aquariums?
No.
There's a
No, this
Dutch
is a
style.
refit.
Yeah.
I'm just making a joke.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the Dutch style, at least in its current form, is when you, and this is that I'm specifying that because this is what I'm familiar with,
Yeah.
is where instead of doing water changes, what you're doing is you're replenishing the mineral composition in the tank itself
Mhm.
via dosing, but that
Yep.
requires you to be doing very controlled, like you need to know what the like consumption of those minerals in
Mhm.
your tank is. So that requires testing. And from what I've read, the method is only worthwhile if your tank is like 120 gallons or more.
Uh-huh.
And the larger it gets, the more viable it gets. But it also requires that you have a low nutrient load, because what you need is to not produce enough nitrates that your corals can't keep up with needing
With processing all the nitrates.
processing.
Right. So,
So-
I had this debate with somebody a while ago, and I keep getting back to your very first statement. If you did water changes, it would be even better.
Yeah, here's the thing. Theoretically, in that situation, and this is a very specific situation,
Yeah.
and I'm only giving it just to like contextualize to people. This is how specific you have to be in order to make that work.
Right.
Is in that situation, theoretically, it should be a wash.
So it should be theoretically that the nutrient output should be producing as much nitrate as the corals are consuming.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a boring fish tank. So you should make it a less boring fish tank by adding more fish and then do water changes.
You're also talking to a person that very much understocks his tanks. That doesn't bother
Right.
me.
My question is always like, okay, well, what about strontium? What about potassium?
Yeah, those are all things that.
What about zinc? Like, you're literally dosing every possible mineral and nutrient in your tank?
Yes.
No, you're not.
the Dutch synthetic method, like depending on how hardcore you're doing, you're dosing 40 different things.
Okay, so if
You know
you're
what would be
doing
way
that
easier?
and you want a low fish load, then you can. If you're not dosing 40 things, do water changes.
Yeah, but
See-
what about the 41st thing?
Yeah, that we don't even know exists.
Exactly.
What about that
boom.
element we haven't even discovered yet? Like,
Guys, I'm literally talking about this as a situation of this is how extreme you have to go for water changes to not work. Let it go.
But
And
how do
then
we
it'd
dose
still be better if you
adamantium and
did.
unobtainium?
Exactly.
it'd still be better if you did.
Yep.
I mean, theoretically, in this case, though, most people are just using synthetic sea salts anyways. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
True. Yes, do water changes. And then 2 more water changes. Amy,
Yes.
tomorrow, you and I need to both do water changes in our fish tanks. Well, maybe this weekend sometime.
But anyways, seriously though, like if you're not that
Yeah.
kind of insanity,
Yeah,
Do water
exactly.
changes.
do water changes.
And you Wallstead people, do water changes.
Do water changes.
Just do it. It
It's
takes
better.
10 minutes. Do
Yeah.
it once a month. It's fine. Just do it.
Right. Small water changes are better than no water changes.
Infrequent water changes are better than no water changes too.
Yeah.
I honestly think that, like, from a planet aquarium standpoint, I think water changes are almost more critical. Not because, like whatever, I'm gonna completely ignore but reef fish come from a cleaner environment. Whatever. I'm ignoring that detail right now because if you're using tap water in your freshwater tank, you're replenishing minerals every time you do a water change in
True.
a way that like I don't do liquid
You don't have
dosing.
to dose calcium into your freshwater planet aquarium, but if you don't do water changes, you might have to.
Well, we don't.
Yeah.
True.
Yep. I like it. It's good.
That was a good point.
Yep.
All right, Ben, what do you got?
Cheap heaters.
Ooh.
That is the one piece of equipment that I'm like, just stop. Just stop
Right.
trying to cheap out on it. Just
Right.
buy it.
Just buy a better heater. Lights. You can grow some simple plants under some really cheap used lights.
Yep.
Or if you really want to cheap out, and you don't want to grow plants, don't use a light.
Sure.
You're fine.
Sure.
Right? Some cheap used filters, a cheap used air pump, and a used sponge filter.
Yeah, as long as water is moving through something porous.
You can
Doesn't
successfully
matter.
keep fish
Doesn't
that
matter.
way. Yes. When heaters fail, they fail on and cook your fish.
Yeah.
Yep.
That extra quality control goes a long
Right.
way.
You
Yeah.
can cheap out on a lot of stuff.
Good construction.
Yep. Heaters.
We only carry one brand of heater. Well, we carry a couple of brands of small heater.
Right.
But there was a while we didn't have any heaters because it's better not to have a heater than to have a bad one.
It's true. Fish
we
can
couldn't
take
get 'em.
some cooler temperature short term than they can take hot temperature short term. Reef fish can go down to 68 degrees for a week or two. Not good for them, but they can take it. They get up to 87, they're going to die.
So the Fluval M series heaters, fantastic. That's
It's the
what we
only
use.
ones we carry. We've had, I'm not going to mention any names because I don't like to talk bad about products. I will talk good about products, but I don't like to talk bad about specific products. But a lot of the really expensive $10, $15 heaters, I have had them. I have cooked so many fish with those heaters. Maybe not right away, but in a year or two when they fail, they're not going to fail off. They're going to fail on.
Or even the digital heaters that are supposed to be really good. We've had those wipe out reef tanks before.
Yeah, it's true. Yep. A lot of the reef people I know will build in redundancy with their expensive heaters. So they'll use a heater with a thermostat and then a temperature controller added onto it just because, when you're talking about some of these reef tanks, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of livestock in those tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One bad heater and you're done. And when we're talking about expensive heaters, the Fluval heaters that we carry are about $30 to $35 depending on the size. That's it. I'm not talking about $100 heaters. Yes, there are some $100 heaters out there and they are fantastic. By the way, there's some $100 heaters out there that I'm not really a big fan of. But the $15
Store brand.
I've killed more than $15 worth of fish with those heaters. It wasn't worth it. So I guess the price difference would be $20, right? I've killed more than $20 worth of fish with those heaters. Not worth it. Cheap heaters, don't like them, don't want them, don't use them. If it comes in a kit, it's probably a cheap heater. If you want to buy a kit, fine. Do the kit. Get a good heater for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm so scared of heaters that I have started just like when I tear down a tank, I just throw the heater out.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I've started reaching the point with I've had too many I've been burned too many times.
You know where I will use cheap heaters? Discus tanks.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Or
Soda
if your,
cichlids.
if your heater's undersized for your tank significantly, then you can probably get away with it.
Yeah.
But it has to be undersized.
Right. I've had discus tanks, therapeutically, we bumped those up to 95, 98 degrees for discus. Short term. But you have time then. Everything else in the tank is going to die. Some of your plants are going to melt, but your discus will be okay.
Discus are like, meh.
Yeah. It's like a warm bath in the sunshine. Cheap heaters.
I'd love to see discus out sunning themselves in the wild. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
That would be.
Mine is actually kind of related.
Is it?
Because I put chasing the cheapest price.
Right.
Ooh.
Buying junky, cobbled together used equipment off of Facebook that doesn't work. Things that leak. Fish that are sick. Live rock from a tank that got torn down. Those are the stories that often end in disaster. And buying 50-cent fish from a chain store or a grocery store.
Yeah, that's on my
Usually
list.
doesn't work out well.
Buying fish from a grocery store is on my list.
Yeah.
Buy your apples from a grocery store, not your fish.
And maybe we're a little biased because we're a local fish store and
True.
we try to do our best.
We're definitely more than a little
Yeah.
biased.
So let me put another little twist on that one.
Yeah.
That can like take it to a next level, right? Where instead of saying you shouldn't buy your fish from a grocery store, we of course would prefer you don't buy your fish from a chain store. We prefer you shop locally. But walk into that grocery store if you see a dead fish in any one of their tanks, those tanks are connected. That fish died for a reason, probably ammonia or some disease spreading throughout it. So that means what fish you buy have that disease or have it exposed to that ammonia, or both.
And whatever damage comes along with that ammonia, like fried gills.
Right.
Yeah, and that plus, like sometimes if somebody had just spent $50 more on their setup initially, or just waited an extra month to be able to afford that amount, they would have avoided some pretty big problems. Like buying a tank that's too small when you want a fish, like buying a 10-gallon when you want a fish that needs a 55.
Right.
Maybe it's not the right time for you to buy your tank. Maybe you should wait until you can afford the 55. But having your setup planned ahead of time and budgeting correctly for the things that you know you want can solve a ton of beginner problems.
I don't want to slam the used market out there completely, because that was kind of where you started with. And there are lots of people, and I think because of a lot of the reasons we've talked about here, that get into the hobby and then get out.
Yeah.
There are people that get out of the hobby just because they've done it for.
Oh, and if you want a tank that's more than 200 gallons, get it used. Right?
Especially right now, right? Yeah. And there's some great used equipment out there, but know what you're buying.
Yeah.
Don't buy cobbled together used equipment unless you know how to work on cobbled equipment.
Well, and here's the reality that like doesn't get talked about enough with the used equipment market. There's often a reason that person's not using that piece of equipment.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Or if somebody's getting out of the hobby, maybe you don't want all the stuff that they have because maybe that's for a reason.
Find out why they're getting out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite phrases one of my buddy uses. He says, "No one buys a used fridge." Because the only people who get rid of a fridge is because it's not working.
Right.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, like you've got a deal that you're looking at, send it to us.
Yeah, I will look at it and give you my honest opinion. Of course, it's going to be a little bit biased, but I'll give you a genuine opinion.
And we carry the equipment we carry for a reason, but bounce it off a few people who have experience. If it's cheap, just make sure you know why. But really, chasing the cheapest price, trying to find the fish that are on low clearance. Just be very cautious about situations like that.
One of my favorite phrases has always been, a great deal on a dead fish is not a great deal, even if the fish isn't dead when you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that phrase goes back to the if there's anybody out there listening who remembers this club, the West Michigan Marine Aquarium Club. Ooh. Or we were Society. We were West Michigan Marine Aquarium Society down in Kalamazoo. We had a really cool logo. I designed it, so I'm really biased, but yeah. And that was one of our phrases around there. A good deal on a dead fish is not a good deal on a fish.
Yeah. And so much of that is coming from beginners who come in and say, what's the cheapest way I can get home with a fish today?
Oh, it's such a tough answer.
Yeah.
They want a fish.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to get him a fish. And they don't have somebody who doesn't have a lot of money and wants a fish. Let's find a way to help it. But maybe that's a takeaway from that statement is don't try and go beyond your means.
Yeah. Like if your budget is $100, absolutely we can get you set up with an aquarium.
You bet.
And I'll direct you to a $15 2.5 with a rim rather than the fancy rimless one that's twice or 3 times as much.
Yeah.
That's a good way to cheap out.
Yep.
And you know what? You're getting a betta, you don't even need a filter. I'll save you $30 on that. But
you do need a heater.
You do need a heater. But if you're telling me like, oh, well, the grocery store down the street has this fish for half the price, there's a reason.
There's a reason. Yep. That fish is going to die.
I mean, the analogy I really like to make in this situation is that like, and I'm going to frame we here at this table are a little biased, but so is that guy growing apples at the farmer's market. And is he right when he says his apples are better? We all know he's right.
steak from a butcher instead of a grocery store.
Exactly.
It's a better steak. Yeah.
Like, are they biased? Of course they are.
That's why
Right.
they're doing what they're doing.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Specialty. There's a reason for it. That was kind of two topics, Amy, and it's okay. I think that you covered them well.
Yeah,
One
I was
was
kind of transitioning.
yeah. Be cautious of used equipment, and be cautious of where you buy your fish. Yep.
Okay.
What you got, Charles?
Just gonna pop my neck real quick here. Do the
Oh,
build
geez.
up your sweat.
I'm getting nervous.
Quote, air quotes here. Rescuing a sick fish.
Oh,
Oh. Yeah.
some very nice people out there.
And I say that as a person that, like, every time I see, I understand that instinct very hard.
Yeah, and you use the quotes because what you really mean is buying a sick fish to try and get it healthy.
Yeah.
Right. Here's the problems with that. First, rescuing. It's a word out there that's like a buzzword in the pet industry, not just the fish industry, but in the pet industry.
Yeah, I rescued my dog from a puppy mill for $1,000.
Right. If you paid full price, you didn't rescue anything.
You just told that business that you're okay with what they're doing.
Right. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, they don't care why. They just care that you keep spending that money.
Right. If you see that pathetic looking betta in that pathetic looking cup, the best thing you can do for that fish is walk away.
Yeah. And even in cases where, like, I know some people will, like, talk to management and get that fish, try and see if they will just let them have it. But it's a zero on their inventory. They need to replenish it.
Right.
It counts as a sale.
Right. Yeah.
There's no happy ending in the stories for
you
those
can't
fish.
sugarcoat this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you buy a fish because it looks pathetic, are you saving that individual? Maybe, but you are sending the signal to whomever you bought it from that whatever they did was okay. In fact, not just okay, you approve of the way they keep their fish.
Yeah.
That's maybe the better way to say it. You're not saying it's okay, but you approve. You're saying, hey, you put that betta in that teeny little cup. It looks pathetic, but I approve of that. Here's my dollars to show it.
Yeah.
You vote with your money.
You vote with your money.
And, like, here's the and this is just such a cold way of saying it, but, like, you may have saved that individual, but you just doomed 1,000 more to the same treatment.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
it just, it's hard.
That one makes me sad for everybody involved.
It does. It does.
That's why I did the build up.
I wish I could be a consultant for some of the big box stores, right? Because I had this debate with somebody. I was like, they need to just go away and stop what they're doing. And their argument to us, but wait, that's a way to get people into the hobby. And there's some truth in that statement. But if they really mean that, what a big box store should sell is actual beginner fish, actual easy ways to do it long term, and no short term fixes. Do actual legitimate beginner setups. They put thousands of dollars into research and development. Now, unfortunately, the economists have told them that in the aquarium hobby, the average life of an aquarium hobbyist is 6 months to a year. So we need to get as much money out of them in that 6 months as we possibly can. And that's how they're designed. Instead of get them into the hobby. Some of those beginners, if they get them into the hobby, they might keep them.
Yeah. Cultivate those people. And
Right.
there's no reason why they should need to carry common plecos instead of bristlenose.
Right.
Or pacu instead of silver dollars.
Right.
Or clown loaches instead of zebra loaches. Like, those little switches would be all it takes.
Right. Get rid of the vacation feeders. Get rid of any product that says you don't need to do water changes. Get fish food that says feed your fish as much as they'll eat in 30 seconds.
Then they'd actually have to train their staff, though, and they can't.
But they could just say it on the back of the fish food.
But, like, you know, if they're not going to have vacation feeders, they need someone there to explain why they shouldn't.
signage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
whatever there is, they are
like a grocery store expecting $9 an hour employees to sell fish is stupid.
It's stupid. It just kills fish and ruins hobbyists and makes us all sad.
Including the people who are expected to sell it.
Yeah.
It's just setting them up to fail.
Yeah.
It's like, here's $100, get me a Ferrari. Like, what do you expect is going to happen there?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get some milk and a sweater and a fish tank.
Wait, what?
Yeesh. Yeah, rescuing fish.
Rescuing fish.
Don't do it.
Nope. You have never rescued a fish.
I will say this just for context for everyone who does that. I have this perspective, and I say this as a person, that there was a time that the only way I could get female bettas was from Meyer.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. I remember that dry spell. Mm-hmm.
This would have been, for me, at least where I was, this would have been around like 2005, 2007-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the era in West Michigan where the big box stores were starting to take hold and the mom and pop stores were disappearing. When I got into the hobby, there were 12 independent aquarium stores in the Grand Rapids area. 12.
Wow.
Right.
And I already feel like we're lucky with how many stores are in the area, like currently, compared to where are in other places.
Yeah. Yep.
Huh.
Anyways, crazy backstory. There you go.
Yeah,
I
that
like
was a
it.
good one.
I like it.
I gotta pee.
Okay. So I have one that actually came about when I was doing research for this topic. Believe it or not, I did research for this topic.
Really?
Right. Yes. And so I started Googling best advice for beginners.
Oh, no.
And so mine is going to be, don't Google best advice for beginners. All of those lists brought me to, there were 4 or 5 different lists of best beginner fish. Mm-hmm. On every one of those lists, 2 fish.
Goldfish?
Yes.
Cichlids. I'm going to say just generally.
There was a type of cichlid on every one of those lists, but that's not what I'm referring to. This fish
That's
also
when I
came
see
up tonight.
generalized a lot of the time. That
This fish also came up tonight.
I mean, bettas should be on the list.
They should be. I agree. Common pleco. On 5 different best beginner fish lists.
Like top 10 fish for nobody?
Right. So I don't want to get into plecos and goldfish because we did, right? But biggest beginner mistake? I don't even know how to phrase it right. Don't do research, but do research. Like how do you get past that what seem to be trusted sources dell out horrible advice?
Can I roll mine into yours and say it the way I said it?
Yeah.
One of my 5 fatal beginner mistakes was not asking enough questions.
That's excellent. Go talk to people that have done it before.
Yeah, and talk to your sources of information. You found this guy on YouTube that has gorgeous tanks that you're obsessed with. Ask him how long they've been set up.
Yeah.
Ask him what he doses them with. Ask him where he got his fish from. Ask anybody as many questions as you have and judge by their answers. They might not answer them all directly, but you can still figure something out by how they answer that question.
I was fascinated and impressed when I Googled that, and I saw there was one by Aqueon, there was one by Hagen, and there was one by Marineland. Mm-hmm. Like 3 of the biggest names in fish. And almost all of they didn't have fish list ideas, but their what should you do ideas, they were actually pretty legit for a beginner.
And because it's advice coming at least from within the hobby. So many of these lists and stuff like that are from random people who are just making content that is searchable.
They were writers, not fish people.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did was Google fish and found their top 5 favorite pictures and then put them in there or something like that, you know?
Right.
Wait, you're saying I shouldn't be taking medical advice from people in the media and not my doctor?
What? The best saltwater beginner fish lists were the absolute most atrocious, horrible, terrible
Daddy backs.
butterfly fish.
What?
Are there any butterfly fish for beginners?
One. Klein's butterflies. I would put that as an easy butterfly fish.
Out of how many species?
I think it's 87.
That is not good odds.
No. No. By the way, I totally just made that number up, but you thought I was accurate, wasn't it?
There's gonna be something around there.
Yeah, I have no idea how many species of butterfly fish, but there's only one that I would consider beginner. There are about 5 more that I would consider acceptable, and the rest of them just don't do it.
Like,
How does a beginner do that?
I mean, we did an entire podcast on how to identify good information.
That's true.
And
That's
I'm
true.
not telling people that's the solution. I'm just saying that, like, there's a way to tell when information is not from a reliable source. You just need to don't always just take stuff at face value. Figure out who's telling you that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
yeah, and appearances aren't always what they seem.
Right.
If somebody asks me something like, where do you guys get your fish from? I'm not going to answer you directly.
No.
But there is a way that I'll respond to that question. I will say, we get our fish from a series of wholesalers that are from around the country, and we try to get our fish from local breeders as much as we can.
Right.
And that answer is different than, I can't tell you that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that this hobby as a whole would really benefit just overall if hobbyists were more comfortable just asking questions, not from a standpoint of just them figuring out what they can and can't put in their tanks, but also from a standpoint of asking questions of like, so why do you think it's okay to have this fish here? Because it's not accusing anyone of anything, but at the very least, like I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they've never thought that question before because it's just the way we've always done it. Those are the situations that someone needs to ask that question, though.
Right.
Yeah. One of my favorite interactions that sticks in my head and I still think about from time to time is the person who looked at our tank of Denison barbs and said, "Aren't those endangered?" And I was like, I have no idea. Let me look that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Turns out they are endangered. Ours happen to come from a captive bred source.
Yeah.
And now we're always super sure about that before we
now
get
I
them
know
in.
it's something to look at, but that person who asked that question, am I ever mad about that? Am I ever? No.
No.
Please ask me.
Please do. Yes. Please do. If you disagree with us, we will have an open discussion and come to an understanding as long as we both come at it from a let's try and understand it together point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I would phrase it as like, let's try to make the hobby as a whole better by making this situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what this is all about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like this is top 5 deadly beginner mistakes. This is all about trying to not kill fish.
Yeah. So questions for your retailer, like where do you get your fish from is a good like teaser question to see how they'll respond.
Yeah, but they
not
shouldn't
a
tell
good
you.
question because they're not going to tell you.
Right.
But stuff like, how long have you had this fish? What is it eating?
Mm-hmm.
What is your typical experience with these? Like, you can really gauge somebody's validity by how they respond to questions.
What do you
like
think
that.
about Paco?
Yeah.
What do you think about vacation feeders?
Oh, do you guys carry, I don't know, tiger shovel nose?
Right.
Do you guys have axolotls?
We don't
don't
carry
have any
axolotls.
axolotls.
Oh man, those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
It's just
It's just a call we get a lot.
A lot.
a lot.
All right. What's next?
All right. So, when I was going through my list, I was working, like, I was writing all this stuff down. And it occurred to me that a lot of the stuff I wanted to put on this list and did put on this list all could be derived from one thing: a lack of patience. Putting fish in too fast, not being willing to acclimate, not being willing to cycle your tank, not doing research, impulse buying a fish you don't know anything about.
I mean, even those big water changes, they're impatience. You're like, I want things to be better now.
Now.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all a lack of patience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And anyone who works with me knows how impatient I am. And I fully understand how much of a hypocrite I'm being by being like, man, if people were more patient, I am not the right person to be telling people that, but it's true.
Well, and you can be impatient and still be disciplined.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. That's a good way to say that. If you are completely impatient, this is not the hobby for you. There is very little instant gratification.
Yeah.
This is it's like gardening.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I am a relatively impatient person, but you can make your change knowing what difference it will make and then forget about it. And then before you know it, that difference has happened.
And everything's better. Mm-hmm. Everything goes smoothly. And things don't die. You know?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. Things don't die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that's really hard for a lot of newbies. And I think it's admirable to not lose that trait, because everyone here at this table has never been desensitized to losing fish.
Right.
It sucks.
It sucks.
It's literally the exact opposite of what we're trying to do here. Like, no one gets into keeping aquariums because you like killing fish.
Right.
But part of being a hobbyist is understanding that when you make mistakes, something's probably going to die.
Yeah.
And you need to be willing to accept that, learn from it, and be better.
Yeah. How does somebody get to that point? Like, I could not be the aquarist I am today without a lot of the mistakes that I made.
Mentorship is huge.
Mentorship is huge. And I guess it's a little bit different today because the information is a lot more accessible.
Yeah, but so much information, like too much sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
From different people, from different sources, trying to filter through it. If you find somebody who does things the way that you want to do it, who's been doing it for a long time, learning from them is a great way to do it. Asking them questions, moving forward in that way. Aquarium clubs, this is where they become so valuable.
Yes. Aquarium clubs are huge. Join your local aquarium club. Well, as soon as it's safe to go.
But still join it.
But still join it.
I'm sure they have a Facebook page.
That's true. Yeah, in 1991, there was no one to tell me that a shovel nose was a horrible idea in a 20-gallon aquarium. Mm-hmm. The place I bought it from didn't. I want that fish. Okay. It was a shovel nose, not a tiger shovel nose, which is a little better, but still.
Yeah. In a 20-gallon tank, it doesn't matter which one you choose.
It was a horrible idea. Information, patience.
But I think if you are patient, it leaves a lot more room to enjoy every aspect rather than just the end goal. Like, I love people who come in to start a fish tank and we tell them, well, it's probably better if you wait to add fish, but you can add plants now.
Yeah.
And then for a couple of weeks, they get to settle the plants in and watch them grow. And then they're like, well, that's pretty cool. Maybe I should add more of those. And now I can add 3 fish? Cool. Well, I've been looking at those ones for weeks because I've just been staring at my plants this whole time. And that, build that anticipation, build that excitement, think about it a lot while you're waiting. You'll enjoy it more than making impulse purchases and then regretting them immediately.
Yeah.
I like it.
For me, the hobby is often an exercise in learning to accept things for what they are, not what you want them to be. So I can set up a tank and I can put in the plants I want and I can put in the fish I want, but I can't make that plant bloom when I want it to, and I can't make that fish breed when I want it to. It has to want to do it, man.
And we all know very well you can't force a pair of Apistos to pair up.
It's like you can set up, like, people who have tried to set up their friends together on dates, like, you can make it the best circumstances and maybe you can make it work better, but sometimes it just doesn't, and that's not your fault. It's just it wasn't going to work.
But hey, if little Jimmy wants a fish, I'm going to get him a fish, all right?
Yeah. But
or little Jimmy could learn that this fish is an individual and he cares about it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
I think we beat this one enough.
Yeah. All right, choir. What do you think about this?
Tell me about your biggest failure. What is it? What was your like, oh, God, I should have known better?
Or what was, I knew better and did it anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
the hardest mistake you had to get through. I want to hear some of these. We've all made them. The cheap heater. Yeah, that was me. The buying one of these and one of these and one of these and one of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, did that.
Did that.
I have bought fish from a grocery store.
Did that.
I've bought fish from a big box store.
Did that.
What are some of the other ones here? Goldfish were my first fish. 3 of them in a 1-gallon fish bowl. In a goldfish bowl. I have used a vacation feeder.
Didn't do that.
I did once. I don't listen to online sources unless I check them out. I've never cleaned everything. I've definitely overfed.
Definitely.
Yeah. What about you? Your top 5 list, Amy. How many have you done?
I've definitely cheaped out a few too many times.
Uh-huh.
And I've definitely jumped into things a little too fast without asking enough questions plenty of times too.
What on your list did you not do?
I've never scrubbed everything out.
Uh-huh. Me neither.
That's just never something that I'm going to do. I have struggled a little bit with trying to force a community to work where it couldn't.
Okay.
You know?
Yep.
Trying to pair up things that are territorial when really I could have just chosen things that aren't instead.
Yep.
That's probably the one I'm most likely to push.
What about you, Charles?
I did everything on my list.
Everything. Go. Just rattle them off.
Feeding the wrong food.
Yep.
Rescuing a fish. Not doing water changes. Improper acclimation and lack of patience.
Yeah.
And then I did most of the stuff on your list too. Like I kept goldfish for 6 years and I was proud of that at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a pair of like 2-inch goldfish that I was pretty happy that I kept alive for a year or two.
Yeah.
When my calico fantail goldfish died after 8 months, I just got another one. Yeah. In my 1.5 gallon goldfish bowl. All right. So anybody feeling bad about all those things that we just said you shouldn't do? We've all done it. Learn from our mistakes. We did stupid things. Mm-hmm. Don't do stupid things.
We did them so you don't have to.
Good news, it is way more fun if you don't do these things.
Right.
All right. Well, be sure to join our Watercolors Aquarium Gallery podcast listeners group on Facebook. We've had some really good pictures come through there, so we love to see your pictures. You can also email anything to podcast@watercolorsaquariumgallery.com. Love to get your updates, love to get your questions. You guys have been awesome. Check us out on Instagram and check out our TikTok as well.
And as always, thank you so much for listening. Let's have lots of fun and keep those hands wet.